Hey everyone, I'm here with David Lively today. David Lively of The Lively Merchant or Studio 98. And David, welcome to the podcast. Glad to have you with us.
I'm super excited to be here, Patrick. It's always good to chat with you about business.
Yeah. I've just been getting to know David a lot more over the last few months, and everything I learn, I'm impressed with. And but before we get into consulting, David, I want you to let's walk through, um, and we talk about faith a fair amount in our conversations. Let's walk through a little bit of your journey and the faith journey and your business journey, just so the audience can get to know you a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, so um, faith in our family is not a bolt on, it's what we do every day. And both my wife Amy and I grew up in Christian homes, and our parents taught us the importance of our faith, and um, we live that out every day in our lives to the best of our abilities. And really, everything that happens in our lives is just an outcropping of our faith life. Like we do our work and live our lives, and it's all around our belief in Jesus. So um, it's kind of
Nice.
foundational.
Yeah, kind of foundational. It's the foundation. So, walk us through some of your business experience. Where did you start in business?
Wow. I'm an old guy with a lot of gray hair now, so that could get into a long story, Patrick. But most people I meet, uh, as soon as we get into the story, it becomes, oh, so you're one of those guys. You're a serial entrepreneur. You're always thinking about the next idea or creating the next thing. And so we mortgaged our first home 167% loan to value back in the day when the banks did those kinds of things. And we opened a small furniture store in Columbus, Ohio. And over the next several years, we built that into a chain of furniture stores across 9 states in the US, and ended up with 1,100 employees and became the 23rd largest home furnishing seller in America. And so that's kind of where it all started. We sold that business in the early 2000s, and um, I was still in my mid 30s going, so what am I going to do with the rest of my life?
Sure.
And my dad gave me a really important piece of advice, saying, hey, you're not going to be satisfied to not be working on something, so don't depend on that windfall to plan the rest of your life. And so since then, we um, we had the idea that home furnishings would probably be bought out of a shopping cart. And that was back when Amazon just sold books, and the largest seller of furniture in the world now is Wayfair. They didn't even exist. And so we started creating shopping cart tools, and that led to sales enablement technology for remote workforces, and that led to a small business operating system. So we spent the last 20 plus years building software as service tools for small businesses. And along the way, many of our customers who used our software said, well, this is great software, but my business is messed up. And that led to business consulting. And so, um, I've made my living since 2007 as a small business consultant, but I build software platforms on the side.
On the side. Well, we're learning it's a lot of work, isn't it, to build something? Takes a little bit more than on the side. Um,
Yes, it does.
yeah, and oh my word, we could go down some stories there, but we won't right now. So you've had some successes in business. I want to hear about those, but I want to first go to what are like the maybe one or two of the disappointments you've had, the failures that really informed your strategy or the way you did business going forward. What like
The,
obviously all of us we go through these things and we're not hitting home runs every single time, and often we just hit failure after failure before we hit a home run. So kind of walk us through one or two of those and what you've learned from that.
yeah, and that's a very long list for me. Um, and the most difficult failures came from needing to come home and explain to my wife, "Hey, honey, we're not going to get paid this
Mm,
week." Um, and we had a young daughter at the time, and we were faced with how do we pay tuition for her Christian school and buy groceries and uniforms, and our businesses at the time just weren't generating enough funds to pay our staff and to pay us. And so, I would really say um, most of our failures came from my optimism and
mm,
the belief that everything's going to be fine and this thing's going to start making money faster than it actually did. Um, and so there were a long number of years, on years, not
yeah,
weeks, years,
yeah,
where our family's income was up and down. Um, and that was post the furniture era. That was making our living as a small business consultant and running these software companies. And I guess that the failures were always around my optimism and the actual reality of what it takes to run a company that produces a profit that can support a family. And as a small business consultant, the reality is all the conversations that I end up in with clients are about their goals and dreams that haven't been realized, but yet you're pouring yourself out for your work.
yeah.
And I faced a lot of that.
So you mentioned Amy as well. You had to come home and say to Amy, "We're not getting paid this week." Tell me about what has Amy's role been through the years as your not just your wife, but your business partner or advisor or sage, or because sometimes, not sometimes, often our wives see a lot more than we do and we ignore it. I'm not sure if that's your case as well, but a little bit of
Oh,
my history there.
absolutely. We've been married for 34 years, and when we got married, Amy made three times the salary I did, and all of our healthcare benefits came from her position. She was the director of client services for Victoria's Secret stores. At the time, Victoria's Secret had 1,500 locations, and
Wow.
they were a $4 billion company at the time. And so it was a big job, and she is a very skilled businesswoman. And so as we started the journey of entrepreneurship on our own, Amy is my most trusted business advisor. Is this a good choice or not? Not just whether my heart's in it or not.
Yeah.
Like, is this going to work? And so she's been involved in our businesses um, since the beginning. And while she has never been on staff at any of the companies, um, her advice is the loudest advice in the room.
Wow.
Um, when our furniture company was at its largest, for example, we had to build a national call center and customer service um, whole division of the company. And honestly, I wasn't even involved in it. Amy
Hmm.
recruited the person, trained the person, uh,
Wow.
built built out the office space, and ran that area of the company for the first 2 or 3 years until it was fully stable. So she's a talented businesswoman. Um, she spends most of her time writing books these
Okay.
days. So
What's her latest book that we're all enjoying? What's the name of that?
may I borrow a cup of hope?
Yeah.
Based on the book of First Peter, and it's First Peter is a great example of when your world feels like it's caving in on you.
Hmm.
Um, where how do you reach? Where do you reach? How do you reach? And Peter encourages us and provides a framework for working through the biggest challenges in life. Um,
That's
that
great.
that book has actual stories of 5 different women around the world who uh, experienced uh, death of their husbands, infidelity in marriage, all kinds of the biggest challenges in life.
Yeah.
And Amy is not just a great writer, but a great teacher and friend to people who go through those kinds of things.
Well, this is unplanned and unscripted, but also, my wife Holly has been reading that book and thoroughly enjoying it and being challenged by it. So, a little promo for Amy Lively. May I borrow a cup of hope? There you go. Hope you go out and get it. Let's move on to, you talked about some challenges. Talk about some successes you've had.
Helping people and helping them through the most important issues in their life. How do you apply business to support your family? And they're my greatest joys are hearing from clients years after I help them to
Hmm.
say, "Gosh, I can look back now and see that advice that you gave me a decade ago. Um, it allowed me to save money for my children's college fund, and now they're away at school, and my wife and I aren't stressed trying to come up with money to pay for it." And so, really for me, we have been um, we've been blessed. And so, from a financial perspective, we've made more money than lots of people have or friends of ours make, and those things are all um, they're all great. But really helping somebody work out their the challenges of their business as it comes back into the home. Um, you mentioned Holly, so there's no way to get away from work at home when you're working together. Well, the reality is, even if you're not working together, there's no way to keep work out of your home.
Right.
And so you feel the mountaintops and the valleys together. And so we spend most of my consulting work is understanding somebody's goals and then helping them to achieve them. And you know their goals are different than mine. And their goals are different than yours. And so
And you can't
every
assume,
yeah, and
right?
every relationship starts with, what are you trying to make happen? And if your heart is to come alongside somebody and go, well, here's some skills I might be able to bring to help you achieve your goals, well, then I'm going to win as a result of their success. And so all of my consulting work has been around, that's the purpose of why I consult small companies, and I don't know who our audience is or how big they are, but when I say small companies, I'm talking about $100 million in down. Um, we have lots of consulting. I have lots of consulting work for $70 million, $50 million, $90 million companies. So it's more than just helping them with their
Facebook page.
what's your Facebook advertising strategy. um, Oftentimes it takes 2 or 3 years to get to that kind of conversation, because we're solving much bigger problems about organizational structure and um, levels of authority and policy and procedure. So um, I love working with startups, but my experience is with you know companies that maybe a bigger scale than some of
Yeah,
our
sure.
audience work with.
So I see a lot of books behind you. How do you ensure you continue to learn and grow in your role, not just as a consultant, but and we're not. I don't want to be in this whole dichotomy of there's your work life and your spiritual life because we know they're one life.
Mhm.
Um, how do you continue to learn and grow in both areas and keep the balance in that year by year?
Well, you pointed out I have books behind me, and I'm an avid reader. If I'm not riding a mountain bike or fly fishing, I'm generally sitting in a chair with my nose in a book. So, it's important to me to stay current. Um, but I'm unafraid and spend a lot of time attending um, conferences, retreats, both in um, the Christian world as well as the business world. And they um, it's kind of how my mind works. They're totally together. It's not like there's two separate worlds. There's one kingdom. Jesus said, "The kingdom is at hand." He wasn't talking about, oh well, the business kingdom and the church kingdom. He was talking about his kingdom.
Yeah,
And so everything seems to, as it processes through my mind, it comes out in the same way. I can help somebody at church with a struggle that they're having with their children or their wife, and I can help somebody who's running a company with a struggle that they're having with their children or their wife. Um, you know, uh, the only way to tithe correctly at church is to make enough money in your business to be able to do that. So, the world's all connected, and so I attend a lot of conferences,
yeah.
a lot of webinars.
Okay, so speak to us about let's as a business consultant. I want to help a business in a certain way.
Mhm.
What let's say one resource. If you could recommend one resource, and you don't get to choose the Bible, the answer is not Jesus to this question. What one resource would you recommend to people that you've consumed in the last say 12, 24 months that you go, wow, this has had a profound impact on my consulting business? Could be a webinar, seminar, it could be a book.
Well, the interesting thing, Patrick, is in the last 12 to 24 months, and this might come across as cynical, I'm not reading or seeing or hearing things that I believe are material to business success. A little over 2 years ago, I attended uh, the Scalable conference in Austin, Texas. Ryan Dice from Digital Marketer is the founder of Scalable. He and I go way back. Um, so that was really solid content, and I think the work of Scalable is really helping small businesses these days. But the two references I would give are well over a decade old. In fact, one was the 1996 New York Times, Wall Street Journal, USA Today bestseller, and the book title is The Wizard of Ads. And I want to point out that wizard today is just the extension of wise ard, um, and it got simplified to the word wizard. It was written by a Christian businessman, um, and that book still today, like I can show you just real quick here. Look, it's within reach.
Yeah,
um, there is very rarely a day that I don't reference the book.
really. And who's the author?
Seriously, I would say rarely a day that I don't
Wow.
read something from that book.
Wow.
Um,
So if I
and
come
just
to visit you and it disappears off your bookshelf, would I be a culprit?
yes, you would have big problems with me. Uh, yeah, and the it's interesting. The subtitle of this book is "Turning Words into Magic and Dreamers into Millionaires." And um, I met the author of this book back in 1994 because I had this startup furniture company, the one I just told you about a few minutes
Yeah.
ago, and I really thought that I had the tiger by the tail and I could build a big company. And so when I met Roy Williams for the first time, we were about a $20 million company, and when we sold that business less than 10 years later, we were a $165 million company. And the principles of the teaching from him and hiring him as our outside advertising agent changed the whole trajectory of our lives, actually. So that's an old book, but it's
Yeah.
still the wisest information that I depend on every day.
Wow.
Um,
I'll pick that up, I think.
and then the other one's even more obscure. It's a book that never sold. It was privately published, and nobody even knows about it. But it's a book called Alignment, and it's since I'm not allowed to use the Bible, this is the closest thing
Yeah.
to it for me, because this is a book about authority written right on top of Scripture. Every chapter, every verse, every subchapter of the book is so. Here's what Scripture says. How does that actually process as a business tool? And so
Who's the author of that one?
Mark Pfeiffer.
Okay.
Uh, he is he is the founding pastor of a church in Ohio. He's the founder of a Bible college in Ohio, and he is the founder and president of the largest apostolic ministry in the world right now. So he's touching the world through his faith right this
Wow.
minute, and he's not an author. He's a pastor and teacher who just happened to put his teaching into a book. It's a
Sure.
great book, great book.
Yeah. No, I've read the book, and I concur with you. I think I just thought, oh, my boys need to read this as well. And so my wife and I read it, and I thought every pastor, every business person should read this because, and as you taught us about, authority and how that has complete dramatic implications on a person's business. And if you don't get the authority structure right from the start, you're just in chaos the entire time. And we've lived through that. And I wish I'd read this many years ago, but profound impact on us as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
Mark was our chief spiritual officer for about 15 years. And so
Amazing.
it was really important to our company um, to build up our staff with an understanding of, you know, it, you read the book, authority, order, function. In life, that leads to a blessing. In business, that leads to a profit. And, we can't even be Christians if we can't submit ourselves to the authority of the Trinity. Like that's where we get ourselves in trouble in our Christian life. Well, it's the
Yep.
same trouble that we get ourselves in our businesses. Like, who's in charge of this thing, and can I buy into it? Can I follow his vision? Is he safe? Does he love me?
Right.
um, are his ways going to produce a positive outcome for my family? And so, you know, um, I'm sorry I don't have, the last 12 to 24 months.
No, no, no,
Um,
not at all. I mean,
you
it's
know,
good to go back and um, because there's a lot of the marketing today around certain products that different people put out, the amount of content that people put out, the ability to write a book and flog a book really quickly and all that. But a lot of it's very tactical of, step one, do this and all that.
yeah,
But you're talking about complete paradigm shifts in how you think.
yeah. And, for a very long time, I mean, all the way back to 25 years ago when our furniture company was growing, we base our business life and our Christian life on Jeremiah 6:16, which says, stand at the crossroads and look, ask for the ancient paths
Yep.
and walk in them, and you will find rest for your souls. Well,
Yep.
rest for our souls in the business world come from, we've created a profit that is stable for my family and for the staff that work for us. And if we don't have enough money to pay our bills, we can't we our souls never rest. And so, how do you apply that in your Christian walk is the same way you apply it in your business life. They are the same. They're not two different worlds. They're one. And
Mm.
so, all the work that we do is to help people find rest for their souls, whether it's a small group or our Sabbath meal that we're sharing tonight at 6:30 with friends, or the consulting work that I had this morning with a client who's struggling with their financials. It's
Sure.
That's the goal.
So let's speak to someone who wants to get into the field of consulting. Um, what direction or advice would you give someone who says, I've got some experience in business? And this is a person that's not just, hey, I've never done business before, um, but they've got some experience in business. Maybe they're coming from a corporate world. They're thinking, maybe I've been downsized, I've been kicked out, or I'm ready for a change. They want to be a consultant. What advice would you give to that person?
Well, I'm very comfortable going back to what we were just talking about. The most important thing that you have to realize as a small business consultant is that you are serving the needs of your client. It doesn't it doesn't matter what you think the best next move is, what you want to accomplish in their business. It's what do they want to accomplish. And so, you find their dream.
Hmm.
What is their goal? What are they trying to make happen in their company? And if you can come along beside them in their vision, then it becomes very natural and very easy to help them. And if you find yourself struggling against, oh, I just don't believe in that goal, or I don't believe in that vision. The reality is, you really, if you're comf- if you're comfortable with yourself, you really need to step back. Simply stated, we have operated this way for a very long time. Do the right thing, and money will follow.
Hmm.
And it's really that simple, and it's just that foundational. What happens um, in all business is we begin to think, well, maybe I don't have to do exactly the right thing this time. I can cut this corner, or I can shave off this edge. I can find um, an easier path to walk down, and it always leads to bad outcomes. And so, I get, because of some of my past business success, I'm able to walk away from deals that other people need to take. And I would encourage you to take those deals, but not if you can't catch the vision of your client. What is your
Hmm.
client trying to accomplish? And then how do you bring your skill set to help them accomplish their goals? When you do that, uh, all the money that you would ever get out of a consulting agreement will come to you. You sign a 6-month agreement with somebody, and they stick around for 5 years because you help them achieve their goals. And your financial goals will always be met by holding that mindset when you go to work for somebody else.
Okay, so what about um, the client that says, I want to achieve X, Y, and Z, and you know in your heart and your experience, they need to first uh, achieve A, B, and C before they can get to X, Y, and Z? How do you speak into that? Like they might say, I just want to increase profits or grow revenue, and you realize, oh, but their whole business is a mess. How do you guide them to do what's right to get to the end goal anyway?
You ask questions, and you just keep asking questions. And as you ask those questions, um, you two things happen. Number one, you help your prospect or client to understand and find agreement with the questions you're asking, or you get clarity that, yes, this guy's goal is to grow from 1 million to 2 million in the next 12 months, and there's not really a chance to help them. And it comes back to, well, how what level of integrity do you have as a consultant? Um, and uh, I really would say, that the current scene in business, I don't fit well in it.
Hmm.
I know that, like, a person like Grant Cardone has been very successful and is, I think, a very good man, but it's rare that somebody's going to 10x their business by, pouring this magic potion on their company. You have to do the work. And so I help clients understand the work that they have in front of them, and then prioritize that work based on impact. And getting a job description for everyone in your company will have a bigger impact on your profitability than your $1,500 a month Facebook marketing campaign. It just will. If you have 2 or 3 staff members and everybody knows how to do their job, they will do their job at a much higher level. You'll end up with happier customers. Um, Kind of going back just for a moment, on the Wizard of Ads book that we talked about
Yep.
earlier. So the interesting part about marketing is there's two sides to marketing. What you say, that's what happens in the public. And it's very easy to find great copywriters who can tell stories about what your company could do.
Yeah.
But there's an equal part of that equation in the Wizard of Oz. It's called personal experience. So what you say versus what you do, and how do you move those two things into alignment? So great, I say that we offer the best software or the best uh, HVAC installation in my community or whatever.
Sure.
But then there's the reality of, do you do it? And in the software world, you get to see, based on a metric called churn, whether you're doing what you say or not. If people use your software and they stay around for a long time, well, then your what you say and what you do match. In in water, whole house water treatment, which I've got a couple clients now that we're working with, um, what you say and what you do are often two different things. Uh, why is your closing percentage at 3%, but your industry's closing percentage is at 30%?
Hmm.
Well, that gets into a lot of the things that um, Kingdom Growth Engine works with. Do you have the right price? Have you bundled the right service together to make your product valuable? Is your selling position unique? Well, all of those things are about what you do, not what you say. And
Yeah,
so we work on both sides of the equation um, when we work with clients.
I see. So we're going to wrap up here, but I'd like please tell our audience first of all, how can they get a hold of you if they'd like to reach out to you? Maybe they have questions, or maybe they want you to work with them in their business.
I promise you guys, I'm the easiest person you'll ever reach out to. So here's my personal cell phone number: 740-415-3192. You can call me, you can text me, you can do whatever. I return every single call or text that I get. I love talking to business consultants, small business people who are trying to make life work. So please just reach out to me. We can schedule a Google Meet or Zoom or whatever. And I would love to just chat with, what are you trying to make happen in your life?
That's amazing. Wow. Well, thank you so much, David. I really appreciate you. Appreciate
Thanks,
how you
Christopher.
help us and help others, and wish God's rich blessing on you and Amy and the work that you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
All right.
And it's always fun to talk about Kingdom Growth Engine
All
and
right. I
talk with
agree.
you.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Cheers.
See ya. Have a good one.
Bye bye.
Bye.